Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Moen. We're here today with another game discussion. It's been a while, guys. We're going to sit down and chat this one up because recently, over the past couple of weeks, I started a new job that's been consuming a lot of my time. In fact, anywhere from 11 to 13 hours a day of my time. So that's a lot of time that has been taken away from me when it comes to playing games. I'm usually too tired or, just at a loss to find time when you have to do other things in life like eat food, consume things, shower, drive to places. Your time can be consumed very easily, and that is the case for a lot of people. A lot of people work very long days. That doesn't mean that you can't find time to play games. It just means that amount of time is definitely cut back if you want to throw other things into your daily life. Just random interactions, eating dinner with your family, taking care of your kids. So while there still is a lot of time in the day, it definitely does wear on you as a person, on your decision as to whether or not you'll actually sit down in those remaining hours and then go ahead and play a game. Now, that's not really what we're here to talk about. I understand everybody has their own different time constraints. Everybody, decides when they play games and how they play games and where they want to play games. But the real thing is, does the amount of time that you have to sit down and play a game every single day or every week or however you want to put the time frame alter your personal opinion of games, how you critique a game, and what you expect from a game, and how much you want a game to actually deliver? Now, this is a very, very personal thing. We're not here to discuss any hard facts on this because everyone is going to have a different answer. But that is why I'm so interested about this topic, because for me, a lot of people, when I, told them about the job and the amount of hours I was getting, there's a lot of people I know who do look at games in a more serious manner, like myself, who said, when you have less time, I think you begin to look at games with less concern. Your critique, you don't have as hard of a critique, and you're okay with certain things that you normally wouldn't be alright with. You'll let little issues and bugs go that normally would have bothered you. And that isn't the case. It's actually the other way around. Now that I have less time, it's like, I really, really want the game that I do sit down and play to completely grab my attention and to hold on to it 100% and to not do stupid small things that actually irritate me and bother me. And I think playing Destiny over the past couple days, I've had very little time. I've played about 6-7 hours of it, maybe 8 hours now, probably not even that much. So I am really enjoying Destiny. It is the game that I want to fill my small pieces of time with. However, I find myself being very upset with small things in the game that I just find that don't make sense, that are just, to me, not of Bungie quality. It's odd. And I know there's people out there who recently, every time I do Destiny content, who just are convinced that game critique doesn't matter, that you shouldn't say anything negative about game. If you enjoy it, you should just shut up and just like the positive things, and that you should never complain about the negatives. And I think that's a terrible way to look at games. That's a terrible way to look at anything in life. You have to look at the negatives of anything. You go out to buy a brand new vehicle. What are the positives? Oh, I really like this car. I really like this truck. I've always wanted this. It's in the color that I want. I can get the engine that I want. I can get the, the style kit that I want, whatever it may be. But what's the negative to it? Oh, well, if I buy it now, then I have to pay full insurance. Also, the car doesn't have a good, there are negatives and positives to everything in life. And you have to look at both sides of the coin all the time. You can't just go through life saying, that's enough positives for me. Forget about the negatives. There are times when the negatives will be overwhelmed by the positives, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't acknowledge those negative things, especially if they're going to directly affect you in any way or alter your experience when it comes to video games or watching television or whatever it may be. Why should you have to sit through an entire season of a show just because the season after that is supposedly good? To me, that doesn't make sense, If anything, just skip it then, or don't watch the show at all because it's already failed to entertain you, throughout a rather large period. And I think that's how a lot of people look at games. It's a balancing act for yourself, for the individual, to say, how much of this game do I really, really enjoy that I look forward to it every day, and how much of the game actually irritates me so much that I want to stop playing because of it, and does one cancel out the other? And then, you make your personal decision on that. Now, of course, again, everyone's going to have their own logic, their own theory on when they look at a game and what they enjoy and what they don't enjoy, and what is like the put down button for the game. What is that one moment in a game that you're playing it, something happens, or, the game developers did something, you recognize it, and you just say, wow, that's it. I'm done with this. And that can be tied to personal beliefs, not even, just personal beliefs, maybe your religion, any of those things. Maybe that's something that offended you. Do I think that that's always a good reason? No. I mean, just because you're offended by something doesn't mean you should stop playing something. If it greatly offends you, then again, it's a personal thing, though. There are so many personal connections that a player is going to make with a game that are going to allow them to decide personally, without any outside influence. Another player or the journalism saying them. That person is an individual to decide whether or not they like a certain part of a game. Now, you can be influenced, of course, by journalism, reviews, opinions of other people. But at the end of the day, I think that deep down as a person, when you actually play something, while yes, those words that you may have read, that review you may have looked at the day before, or, your best friend telling you just how great the game was, it's going to have some sort of an impact on how you view that. But I think that the more you sit down and play games, and the longer you've been playing games, and then the more you start to sit down and actually mentally recognize when something bothers you, the easier it is to ignore those outside influences, those opinions, and to have a really direct feeling for what you like and don't like in a game. So I guess that's where I'm trying to go with this whole thing is the way that we as individuals, as gamers, as people, look at games and the way we experience them is completely individual. It's it's completely individual. While two people may have the same opinion, there are just certain people are going to notice really small things that another person wouldn't notice. It's just part of being a human, Not everyone thinks exactly the same. There really aren't any two humans that think identically. You may have, similar beliefs, but at the end of the day, you're going to catch something that someone else wouldn't catch. And that's why discussing games with people is so damn interesting. I feel like I've gotten off topic on this one, but I think that I've thrown up a bunch of questions for you guys to answer that I'm very interested in hearing about. And as I said, I think the idea of each individual person, each individual gamer, everyone who sits down and plays a game, being able to sit down and view something and then take away from it in their own way, and then share that with other people is what makes gaming experiences, multiplayer gaming experiences, or single player gaming experiences so special to share with one another. And I think that's the really big allure behind games like No Man's Sky, games that are promising that no two players will ever have the same thing occur. They won't ever, be part of the same event, or if they do, it's an extremely rare occasion. So everyone is getting together telling their own story. And again, everyone is bringing their own opinions, their own views on what they played and how they experienced it. And at the end of the day, that is, what really matters when it comes to playing games. It's not about reviews. It's not about, someone else's opinion. You can look at those things and you can respect them and you can appreciate them and you can use them to help make the decision to purchase a title. But at the end of the day, when you actually sit down and play something, that is when you make that decision. That is when you decide that you didn't care about that review that you read, or you did and you completely agreed. That is when you form your own personal opinion on what you've just experienced, and then you decide whether or not the game is worth playing. Whether or not the negatives outweigh the positives, or the positives outweigh the negatives. So at the end of all of this huge smorgasbord of opinion-based video game discussion and critique, I want to ask you guys, for those of you, everybody I think has, had times in their life where they've worked a lot of hours, they've worked a lot of days, they haven't had as much time to play games, and then there's been moments when you have had a lot of times, whether it be when you're younger or older or on vacation. How does that influence the way that you look at games? That restriction on time, or perhaps that lack of restriction on time to play games. What does that do for you? How does that alter your opinion on games that you play during those moments? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one.